Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. Today, I am sitting across from a man whose career defined American cinema for over 6 decades. From the quiet shadows of Macomb to the battlefields of Vietnam and the dusty trails of the West, he didn't just play characters, he inhabited them. Welcome to the show. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
Hi, Calvin. I'm Robert Selden Duvall, though most folks just call me Bobby.
Bobby, it's an honor. Let's start at the very beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born on January 5th, 1931, in San Diego, California.
And what was your given name at birth? Is there a story behind it?
My name was Robert Selden Duvall. As for a story, I'm named after my father's side. My dad was William Howard Duvall, a rear admiral in the Navy. The Selden comes from family lines down in Virginia. We have some deep roots in that soil, dating back to the Selden family of Virginia.
A Navy brat. What was your hometown like growing up?
Since my father was in the Navy, we moved around a bit, but I spent a good chunk of my youth in Annapolis, Maryland. It was a town centered around the Naval Academy. It was a very disciplined, traditional atmosphere. You grew up with the water and the structure of military life all around you.
What was your family life like?
It was solid. My mother, Mildred Virginia, was an amateur actress herself, so I think I got some of that creative spark from her. My father, the Admiral, was a man of great discipline. He actually wanted me to attend the Naval Academy and follow in his footsteps.
What kind of kid were you, and what were your biggest fears?
I wasn't much for school, I'll tell you that. I was a bit of a wanderer. I loved the outdoors and horses. My biggest fear? Probably being stuck behind a desk in a life that didn't feel real. I didn't want to be a paper pusher. I wanted to be out there doing something that meant something.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
For a while, I didn't know. But I knew what I didn't want to be. I eventually realized that the only thing I was ever really good at was acting. It felt like the only thing that made sense.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I enjoyed drama, of course, and I loved history. I've always been fascinated by how people lived in different times. I also enjoyed sports, anything that kept me moving.
What was your first job?
Oh, I had plenty of real jobs before the acting took off. I worked as a night janitor at American University, I worked at the post office sorting mail, and I even did a stint at Macy's as a clerk. I drove trucks too. You do what you have to do to keep the lights on while you're waiting for the phone to ring.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I don't know about different, but there was a moment in the Army when I was in an amateur play called Room Service. Something just clicked. I realized, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. It wasn't about being a star. It was about the work.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Moving to New York City in 1955 on the GI Bill. I enrolled in the neighborhood playhouse under Sanford Meisner. I met 2 other guys there who were just as hungry as I was, Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman. We were just kids trying to figure it out, living hand to mouth. We didn't know we were making history. We were just trying to find a cheap meal.
That's a legendary trio. What was your biggest break?
It had to be Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird in 1962. I didn't have a single line of dialogue, but that character stayed with people. It opened the doors to the roles that followed.
What were your biggest struggles before success? Did you ever consider quitting?
The struggle was just the day-to-day grind, sorting mail at the post office for 6 months just to pay for acting classes. But I never thought about quitting. If you have the stuff, you just keep going. Gene, Dustin, and I, we used to sit in drugstores and talk about Brando for hours. He was our king. We just wanted to be that good.
Are there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel were essential to your success?
Observation. I'd sit and watch people, how they walked, how they talked, the way they held a coffee cup. I wanted to bring that normalcy to every character. And tango. Later in life, the tango became a huge part of my routine. It requires such focus and connection.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I'd probably have been a rancher or a cowboy. I've always felt more at home on a horse in Virginia or Texas than on a red carpet in Hollywood.
What was your life like before fame?
It was simple. Hanging out with Hackman and Hoffman, dreaming about what could happen. Dustin was the best cook of the bunch, believe it or not. We were just young actors looking for the truth in a scene.
How did relationships change after success? Did fame bring happiness?
Success makes things easier in some ways. You don't worry about the rent, but it can complicate things too. Fame isn't what brings happiness. Happiness for me was my farm in Virginia, my wife, Luciana, and a good steak.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
People start treating you like you're special, but you're just a guy doing a job. I never liked the star treatment. I just wanted to be a working actor.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Maybe that I was as tough or as intense as some of the guys I played, like Colonel Kilgore or the Great Santini. In reality, I'm a pretty quiet guy who likes a good patty melt and a quiet afternoon.
What regrets did you carry?
I think everyone carries a few, maybe roles I turned down or moments where I could have been more present. But I tried to live a life with the throttle open, as they say.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong. How did you handle it?
Early on, when you're auditioning and getting no after no, it feels like everything is going wrong. You handle it by going back to the craft. You study more, you observe more, and you stay ready.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My mother for her spirit, and Sanford Meisner for teaching me how to really act. And Horton Foote, he was a great writer and a great friend who really believed in me.
What was life like in your final years?
It was peaceful. I spent most of my time on my 360-acre farm in Middleburg, Virginia. I'd go down to the old Salem Cafe in Marshall and get a patty melt or a Reuben. I loved being around the farmhands and just being a part of the community.
What were you working on before you passed away?
I acted almost until the very end. I was in 12 Mighty Orphans and The Pale Blue Eye around 2021 and 2022. I never wanted to retire. I wanted to keep telling stories.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on February 15th, 2026 at my home in Middleburg, Virginia. I was 95 years old.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I'm a huge fan of Argentine tango. I even directed and starred in a movie about it called Assassination Tango. There's something about the discipline and the passion of that dance that just speaks to me.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Oh, there were always rumors about rivalries on set, but most of it was just talk. I was a professional. I came to work, did the job, and went home.
What was your favorite food and restaurant?
A perfectly seasoned ribeye steak. And as I mentioned, the Old Salem Cafe in Virginia. I loved their simple comfort food. Nothing fancy, just good.
What was your favorite book?
I'm a big fan of Larry McMurtry. Reading Lonesome Dove was a revelation. I read that whole book in 10 days and I knew I had to play Augustus McCrae.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Working with Dustin Hoffman in the early days, I remember watching him in a play called Eh, and I was laughing so hard off stage that he almost couldn't finish his lines. He was like the fifth Beatle for a while there.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
Probably my farm. It was a lot of land, but it was the best investment I ever made for my soul.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Don't chase fame. Chase the truth. Be curious about the world and the people in it. And keep your feet on the ground.
Bobby, before we sign off, do you have any closing remarks for our listeners?
Just that it was a heck of a ride. I feel lucky that I got to spend my life doing something I loved. To all the folks out there, find your passion and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Thank you so much for having me, Calvin. It's been a joy to reminisce.
Thank you, Robert. It has been an absolute privilege. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.